Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. We would like to present our innovation project entitled Household Inflation Patterns in Malaysia, a data-driven analysis using AI. So this study utilizes recent data from the Department of Statistics Malaysia, DOSM, and covering the period from 2020 to 2024. Before we proceed, allow me to introduce our team members. The first one is Dr. Nur Azhar and Dr. Nur Shahida, me, myself, Luqman Hakim, and the rest of the project team.
Next is the problem statement. So the rising cost of living in Malaysia is a significant issue, putting immense financial pressure on B40 and M40 households. So this is largely because income growth is not keeping pace with inflation. And we have seen essential like food, housing, and transportation become increasingly costly. And lower income families are feeling the greatest impact since they spend a larger portion of their income on these basic needs. So we have identified several contributing factors, including rising housing prices, volatile property markets, and broader economic like GDP growth and also interest rates. So global fluctuation in energy and food prices also play a major role. Identifying these main drivers of inflation is crucial, and it helps policymakers design targeted strategies to ease the financial burden on vulnerable households and strengthen their economic. And also this is the core problem why we aim to address with our project. So next we have three main objectives. The first one, we aim to identify the key factors contributing to household inflation in Malaysia by analyzing the current economic data and also price trends. Second one, we plan to create a Power BI visualizations dashboard, and this dashboard will allow users to see the trends of inflation and how specifically affects the household's expenditure for different income groups. And last one is to we want to provide a practical tool for households, and our Power BI dashboard will help them develop custom budgets and plans their financials according to specific inflation levels at various income brackets.
Shown on this slide, our analysis is based on secondary data sources. The main sources are the Department of Statistics Malaysia, DOSM, Bank Negara Malaysia, and official government publications. These datasets provided comprehensive information on household demographics, consumer price index, GDP, and inflation trends. We focus on the years 2020 to 2024. This time frame is important because it captures the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, post-pandemic recovery, and the recent inflation pressures in Malaysia. Our methodology is structured into six phases, each designed to ensure accuracy and consistency. Where phase 1 data collection, we gather raw datasets from DOSM, Bank Negara, and other government portals. Phase 2, the data cleaning. Here we standardize the formats, remove duplicates, and also address missing values to ensure reliability. And the third phase is the data transformation. This involves converting raw figures into usable formats, such as aggregating household numbers, indexing inflation rates, and also aligning data by years and state. The fourth phase is the data integration, where at this stage we merge the datasets population into CPI, GDP, and household information into a single structure framework, allowing cross-variable comparisons. And the fifth phase is the data analysis, where we applied both trend analysis and comparative analysis to study how inflation varied across states, age groups, and ethnicities. The last phase is the data visualization. Finally, as you can see on the slide, we use Power BI to create interactive dashboards, making the result clearer and more intuitive. By following these 6 phases systematically, our methodology ensures that the findings are not only accurate but also consistent, and also practical and easy to interpret for decision making. Now, if we move on to the next slide, we can see the population profile of Malaysia. The total captured population is about 1.32 million individuals. Within this, there are around 315,000 females and 345,000 males, bringing the combined dataset to 660.7 thousand people. This relatively balanced gender ratio is important because it reflects both male and female-driven household dynamics. In terms of ethnicity, the Bumiputra community forms the majority, followed by the Chinese, Indian, and the smaller minority groups. This diversity matters because each community has unique spending behaviors and priorities, which directly shape how the inflation is experienced in different households. If we examine the age distribution, the majority fall between 20 to 39 years. While this reflects a young, working-age society, which is a strength for productivity but also a vulnerability, since younger households are more often sensitive to rising costs in the housing, food, and also transport. On the other hand, the elderly population above 65 years old is also smaller, but more vulnerable because they often depend on fixed incomes. At the state level, we can see significant variation. Selangor is the most populous with about 285,000 people, followed by Johor and also Sabah. These states not only host larger populations but also play bigger roles in the national economy. That means the inflation here has wider ripple effects. In contrast, smaller states like Perlis and Melaka may contribute fewer numbers, but they still highlight the localized impact of inflation across regions. So, overall, this demographic overview shows that the household inflation is not uniform. It varies depending on gender balance, ethnicity, age groups, and also state level differences, making it essential to analyze these demographics alongside the economic indicators.
Part, I will present several key statistics from the Department of Statistics Malaysia. First of all, on the household overview from 2020 to 2024, the number of living quarters increased from 9.6 million to 10.4 million, while the number of household rose from 8.2 million to 8.9 million. Next, looking at the economic indicators, the coincident index moved from 1.3k in 2020 up to 1.5k in 2021, showing recovery after the slowdown. The leading index remained stable across the year, while the lagging index increased from 1,446 in 2020 to 1,693 in 2024. On foreign direct investment, which is FDI, inflows rose sharply in 2022, reaching 296 billion before easing slightly in the following years. Outflow also increased, showing active capital movement during the same period. Moving on the Consumer Price Index, CPI, at the state level. The index remains steady overall, with states like Selangor, Johor, and Kuala Lumpur recording the highest value, while states such as Perlis and Kelantan recording the lowest. Finally, regarding GDP and GNI, Malaysia GDP grew from 1.3 million in 2020 to 1.6 million in 2024. At the same time, GDP per capita rose to almost 47,000, and then GNI followed the same pattern, increasing from 1.3 million in 2020 to over 1.5 million in 2024. That's all from my part.
Next, I will be sharing about how inflation is managed from two sides, the government action and the people action, before ending with a conclusion. Let's begin with government sides. The government uses several strategies to stabilize inflation. First, through monetary policy. Decreasing the money supply, such as through selling government bonds, can help reduce inflationary pressures. Second, exchange rate policy. Governments may try to intervene to avoid devaluation of the currency. A stronger currency can make imports cheaper. Lastly, wage and price monitoring. Governments can promote openness or transparency in the labor market and amongst businesses to avoid wage price spiral where wages chase prices and vice versa. However, these measures alone are not enough. People also need to play their part in adapting to inflation. First, they can shopping smart, buy in bulk, wait for sales and use coupons, that kind of thing. Next, debt management. People can lower down their debt burden, specifically high interest rate debt, for example, credit card, to ease financial stress during inflation. And last but not least, decreasing demand. Consumers may shift to purchase essential items and away from luxury goods and non-essential services. In conclusion, our group has successfully addressed three objectives on household inflation analysis in Malaysia, which is identified the dominant factors contributing to the movement of inflation through recent current economic situation and price trends. Implemented Power BI visualization dashboard for displaying both inflation trend and its impact towards household expenditures according to different income level, as well as create a practical tool allowing households to generate personal budget when facing with various level of inflations. The objectives also achieve the effective ability to provide individualized financial planning guidance and share specific approaches to saving, budgeting, and future financial planning. These are intended to help families cope with inflationary pressures and harden against the impact of increasing living costs. For further research, it is suggested to look at other predictors of financial well-being and extend the scope of the dashboard by incorporating predictive analytics for more complete budgeting tools. That's all from us. Thank you.